Headed in the middle of a circle, Yaglet was down to his last health. Pickleballs was the first to die, and Chicken Balls died right after. And the last one alive was me. Me versus Yaglet. Whoa. Let's start this story from the beginning. That's me. 150 days ago, I was sitting in the middle of my courtyard. You see, I was a pretty strong Viking. I had pretty good armor, an unfinished kingdom, and of course my good friend Pickleballs. But in today's video, I wanted to get so much completed, and I was excited. But let's start this journey from the beginning. When me and Pickleballs gathered our best gear, our best food, ran straight down to the dock and jumped onto our wooden crafted longboat. Of course, we were sailing straight towards the Plains Biome. Now, I only needed one last piece of armor, but Pickleballs needed all of the armor, so he needed quite a bit of linen. Thankfully, we were taking on this gigantic fueling village that we saw in the last video. Right before heading into the Plains Biome, we ran into good old Joe. Except this time he was a little juiced. He made my padded armor feel like if it was bronze armor. After saying bye to Scary Joe, I went ahead and showed Pickle around the Plains Biome. I showed him what cloudsberries are and what you use them for, and of course let him say hi to the mosquito and big boy Baljeet. Needless to say, he was pretty excited. The first thing we did was take on the tower because it was the weakest points. We didn't want to take on the mutant fuelings because they were very overpowered and nearly one-shot you. So of course what we did was kill all the little fuelings inside of the tower. Taking over the tower, we could use this as a choking point. We wanted to place some beds, a crafting table, and a campfire so that we could use this as a resting spot whenever we needed to. It also was a good way to poke down the mutant fuelings so that we don't die really easily. But of course, whenever we had the opportunity, we jumped down and took down as many fuelings as possible. It was definitely very scary taking on these fuelings, if I say so myself. Every time we were getting close to finishing them, it felt like more and more kept showing up. Until finally, we decided to rush into the village and start taking over. Or I should at least say that we tried. So many. We have no mana, bro.
Well, we run.
But of course, after a few failed attempts, we were able to clear the fueling village, meaning that it was time to loot. From this fueling camp, we obtained 3 main items. No, it was not black metal, but instead it was flax, barley, and of course the fueling totem. Barley and the fueling totem would be very useful later in this episode, so make sure to keep your eye out for that. As for the flax can be used to make linen, and linen can be turned into padded armor. So we were pretty much all set. We sailed back home, and I went ahead and smelted the ore and made all the linen. Once everything was ready, I went ahead and crafted myself some padded leggings, a yellow linen cape because it's my favorite color of course, and the black metal shield and sword. We were completely ready for a brand new adventure. I was pretty excited. It was time for me to build. We have completed a lot during our building journey over this series, but I wanted to step it up a notch and start working on the kingdom. Of course, I wanted to have some dedicated builds, things like a bakery, an armory, a farming area, a portal area, and of course some buildings just for looks. But just like how I wanted to have a lot of buildings, this was going to take a lot of time. It took me a total of around 40 hours to complete all the item gathering and of course building the structure. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the quick version and the breakdown of everything that I built. But right before building, I was AFK and I got attacked by fuelings. By the time I got back, the raid was over and my courtyard was pretty much demolished. So that gave me an idea. I didn't really need the smithing area, the beehive area, or the farming area anymore, so I went ahead and scrapped them. I made my whole courtyard pretty much all free and then added some grass and some walls. The walls were pretty simple, just 2 meter and 1 meter beams and some iron bars on top. I then made a little bit of pathing and of course added a little tiki hut with inside a jacuzzi. This was all for looks, but I ended up liking it anyways. I then updated the house a little bit and it was not much, but I was pretty proud of it and I was satisfied for now. Up next, I went down to the 3rd floor of the kingdom and I wanted to start working on the rest of the wall and use the same design as I used for the wall previously. Midway down, I came up with an idea. The idea was a tower. This tower could be used to shoot down mobs if there was ever a raid, or if there's just an annoying skeleton outside my kingdom that I want to get rid of. It also just looked pretty cool in my opinion, and I just wanted to add them. I started the tower build with a circular structure, built it all the way up, and had it pop out a little bit, and of course I used some inspiration from other people's builds. Hardest part of this build was trying to get the roof to be circular. Valheim kind of lacks in circular builds, so I was having a bit of trouble with that, that, but thankfully the tower actually ended up looking very nice. Also changed all the flags to green because it just looked nicer with the build, but overall I'm very happy with how the tower ended up looking. After this, I continued the wall down to the 3rd and 4th layers. So I went ahead and copied the exact same thing over to the other side, and with both of the towers done, the kingdom was starting to come together and looked very nice. With the wall done, it was time to start building the dedicated structures, and the first one to go was of course the bakery. I started off this build with the flooring outline. I used wooden beams to show where I wanted this building to be, and then filled it in with stone for the flooring. I then stacked it up to where I wanted the floor 1 to end. I also added this pretty nice window which had diagonal beams and a little area where I was going to place food later on. As for the second floor, I did a little balcony which looked pretty nice, and the walls instead of stone of course were wood. Lastly, for the roofing, I went ahead and used a black roof. I simply just like it more and it just looks more appealing, which I think that most of us can agree. I then moved all of our food crafting items into the bakery, things like the cauldron and all of its upgrades, and then added a little bit of spice to bring the build to life, like this table with some food and gold on it. And then the bakery is done, and it looked pretty bakery-ish if I say so myself. After this, I wanted to add more to the area below, so I made some stone pathing going all the way down to the fishing area, and then I wanted to build something on this little empty plot. I built up a little hut, and then all I did was just place a table, some food and chairs, and voila, we had ourselves a little building that added to the build but was completely useless. Up next, I had the portal area. I wanted to use this entire plot for the portals, which I of course started like always with the outline. Once again, all I used was stone and wooden beams. I then stacked it up with the wooden beams and then added the roofing. The roofing was a little bit hard because of the shape, but we got through it thankfully. I was able to fit 4 portals in there and then added a few items for design. And boom pow chicka wow wow, we had ourselves another hut. But this one actually had a use, and that was portals. Nice. Last but not least, I wanted to start working on the smithing area. This one was going to be a bit larger of a build, but I was pretty excited to start working on it. I wanted to have an outside area where we could smelt stuff, and of course an area where we can make coal, and then the main building, which I wanted to be 2 stories. So first things first, we started with the flooring. Now I don't want to bore you guys with yet another explanation of the build process, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys what I built. I made the armory a 2-story building with multiple layers so that it could add some depth and realism to the build. Ended up working out, and I actually like the way it looks. Moving up the pathway on the left, you can see some coal furnaces that I added to make some coal of course, and to the right leading to the entrance we have a stone staircase and a little stone kind of patio that I made to hold the furnaces and blast furnaces. I also use these locked rugs as a design to make it look like a rug leading to the entrance. Obviously it's a rug, I just mean that I made it longer, and you know what I mean. I also added some chests, and for the interior I went ahead and used the 2x1 and 1x1 stone blocks and some wooden beams to make it look like there was a table behind everything. Other than that, I added the forge and all of its upgrades around it, and of course the linen maker. Last but not least, we had the simple staircase, and of course upstairs we had a crafting table. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's literally it. I didn't know what else to build, so yeah. And boom bat bat slap, that was the building for today. I felt super satisfied, and actually it was definitely starting to come together. I mean man, just enjoy the view. It looks actually so sick, and it's really starting to look like a kingdom. But of course we had one last thing that I wanted to build today. That was a farm. At this point I was starting to feel a little tired, so let's just explain real quickly what I did. I built a little bit of pathing and some gates on the side. I did a little bit of lazy work on this, to be honest with you guys, but it looked okay. My idea was to have 3 different farms for all 3 different foods in the future, but as of right now this is the farm, and it's gonna be worked on in the next episode. And there was our kingdom, looking beautiful in all its glory. We have put a lot of time into this kingdom, and I cannot wait for the finished product. Whew. Some good work today, boys. Now we had a massive new obstacle right ahead of us. That was to fight Yulgath. Now I probably could have beat this boss alone, but it's way funner with friends. So I got on my good friends Pickleballs and Chicken Balls to help me fight Yulgath. Me and Pickleballs went ahead and pitched in to give Chicken Balls some armor and some food to use during the boss. Then I went ahead and tied up a couple of loose ends, including making some healing and stamina potions, and gathering all the materials to make a portal and a mini base. Well, yeah, and you guys remember the barley from earlier I told you guys to remember? Well, now's the moment. All that barley we collected was turned into barley flour. With barley flour, I made 3 foods. That of course was lox meat pie, fish wraps, and blood pudding. Now with that all done, it was finally time to head on to our adventure. We all jumped onto the beautiful longboat one more time and set sail to Yulgath. He was very far. It was literally an hour, dude. Once we arrived to the island, we went ahead and placed the portal and made a mini little base that we were going to set up camp at. Right away, we went to go check out the area of where we're going to be fighting the boss at. But we ran into a huge problem. And that, of course, was a fueling village. There was a massive fueling village right next to the boss. So, of course, we did what any logical Valheim player would do. We bum rushed naked straight into the fueling village with no plan at all.
Yeah, careful. Oh, fuck. Oh, God, dude.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God. I got hit by the bagel.
They're resting.
Oh, shit. Run. Right fucking behind.
There's a bunch of them on me.
What the fuck? What the fuck did they come from?
I'm sorry. There's so many on me.
Oh, fuck this dude.
Oh, we got him. We got him. We've gathered warriors all across the world, pickleballs and chicken balls for this very moment. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.